I went to my uncle's remote cabin to clear my head. What happened that weekend? I still can't say out loud. He wasn't supposed to look at me like that. I wasn't supposed to feel the way I did. But when the fire burned low and our eyes met across that silent room, everything I thought I knew about myself shattered. And then, just when I thought I could bury it, forget him, move on, he showed up at my door. No warning, no explanation, just a key in his hand and something in his eyes I wasn't ready to face. What he told me that night, it broke me. But the real twist, it came 5 minutes later when my phone buzzed with a message that changed everything. I thought I knew pain. I thought I knew love. I was wrong on both. This isn't just a story about forbidden feelings. It's about what happens when someone touches your soul and then disappears. If you think you've seen every kind of love story, think again, because nothing will prepare you for how this ends. I was 20 and still lying to myself, lying in a way that makes you smile when you want to disappear, lying with every joke, every nod, every fake crush on a girl I'd barely noticed. I didn't even realize how heavy it had all gotten until I said yes to a weekend in the middle of nowhere. Mom called on a Thursday. "Wade's invited you up north," she said, like she was offering me a cup of tea instead of an unspoken challenge. "Thought you could use some air. He's got new land, lots of trees, silence. Maybe you'll even learn how to shoot something beside your mouth." I rolled my eyes but agreed, mostly because I had nothing better to do. My friends were gone. Road trips, parties, plans I hadn't been invited to. I pretended I had things going on too, like truths. I was just alone, and tired of pretending I wasn't. So I packed a bag, a couple sweaters, jeans, the only boots I owned. I didn't think about what I was walking into. I didn't think about him. Not yet. The drive was long. Miles of frostbitten trees, the kind that look like they're holding secrets. My cell signal dropped about halfway through, which felt strangely peaceful. By the time I reached the gravel road, winding through the forest, my hands were aching from the steering wheel. But the moment I saw the cabin, everything else faded. There he was, Wade, splitting logs like something out of an old movie, flannel sleeves rolled up, axe swinging clean through the wood. His body moved like it remembered a rhythm I'd never learned. Snow clung to his boots. Sweat glistened at his temples. He looked up, spotted me, and his face cracked into a grin. "Ethan," he called, wiping his brow. "Well, damn. Look who finally grew up." My breath caught. I hadn't seen him in years. Not since I was a kid with braces and too many questions. He looked older now, broader, grayer at the temples. But still him. Still Wade. I stepped out of the car. "You look the same." "That better be a compliment," he chuckled, walking toward me. "See, man." We hugged. Awkward at first, then tighter longer. His chest was warm, his hands rough against my back. When we pulled apart, he gave me a look I couldn't quite read. "You ready to freeze your ass off?" he said. Born ready. That first day blurred together. He didn't let me settle in. Just tossed me a jacket and we were on the trail, hiking deep into the woods. The snow crunched beneath our boots. A cold wind cut through the trees. He handed me a rifle like it was nothing. "You ever shot one of these?" "No." "You're about to." He showed me how to hold it, how to steady my breath. "Don't aim with your eyes," he said. "Aim with your body." "But why not?" His voice, low, grounded, sent chills that had nothing to do with the weather. I wasn't good at it, but he didn't laugh. Just corrected me gently. Patient, like he wanted me to get it. Like he wanted to share this part of himself with me. That night, the cabin was warm and silent. Firelight danced on the log walls. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey and handed me one without asking. "Suppose college boys like you drink fancier stuff," he said, settling into the old leather armchair across from me. "I'm not that fancy," I said, sipping. It burned, but I liked it. We talked, not about anything important. The drive, the cold, a story about a neighbor's moose getting stuck in a clothesline. But slowly, the conversation slid into deeper waters. I told him more than I meant to. "I don't know," I said, staring at the glass in my hand. "Sometimes it just feels easier to pretend. Like I'm playing a version of myself that everyone expects." He didn't interrupt, just nodded once, eyes fixed on me like he was seeing something no one else did. "You don't have to pretend here," he said. "Not with me." The room went quiet. And for the first time in a long time, I felt safe. Not just safe, seen. I don't remember who moved first. Maybe it was him, maybe me. But one moment we were sitting apart, and the next, I felt the heat of his hand on the back of my neck. He didn't pull me in, he didn't rush. Just waited. Our lips met in the space between fear and longing. And everything changed. I woke up the next morning in tangled flannel sheets, my skin still carrying the warmth of him. Wade stood at the stove, shirtless, making coffee like this was the most natural thing in the world. He turned, handed me a mug. Neither of us said anything about the night before, but his fingers brushed mine, and that said enough. Back on campus, everything felt louder. The vending machines, the elevator dings, the forced laughter between classes, all of it sounded fake. Too sharp, too clean, like the whole world had moved on while a piece of me was still in that cabin, still curled up in his sheets, still feeling his breath against my neck. I tried to forget, tried to drown myself in coffee and textbooks, hide behind sarcastic group chats and parties I didn't really want to go to. But every quiet moment, every lull between lectures or late-night scroll through my phone, Wade came back. Not just the way he touched me, though that memory burned behind my ribs like a brand, but the way he looked at me, like I was someone worth holding on to, like I wasn't just a kid playing pretend. I thought about texting him, typed the words more times than I can count. Thanks again. That weekend meant a lot. Then deleted them, then typed them again. My finger would hover over send, like it was the edge of a cliff, because I didn't know what we were now. Were we two people who crossed a line and silently agreed never to speak of it again? Or was that weekend something more? The truth was, I didn't know if I was ready to find out. One night, maybe a week after I got back, I was lying in bed, unable to sleep. The ceiling above me looked too white. My sheets were cold in a way that had nothing to do with temperature. Out of nowhere, I opened my camera roll, and there it was. A photo I didn't remember taking. It was blurry, crooked, probably taken by accident. Just the edge of Wade's cabin, a sliver of the forest beyond, and him. Wade, in the background, shirtless, mid-swing with the axe, snow at his boots, steam rising from his skin like he was carved from the landscape itself. I stared at that photo like it was a secret, a frozen truth only I was allowed to see. And that's when I knew this wasn't a phase. This wasn't curiosity. It was him. The next night, Mom called. Casual, breezy. I almost didn't answer, but I'm glad I did. Oh, by the way, she said, near the end of the call, Wade asked about you. My heart stopped. What did he say? She laughed. Said you were a good shot. They didn't expect you to be so grown up. Really, I tried to sound disinterested. Failed. Yep. Said his door's always open if you want to come back. I could have cried, but I just said cool. I'll keep that in mind. That night, I opened my phone, typed the same text I'd written and erased a dozen times. Thanks again for the weekend. It meant a lot. This time, I hit send, and I waited. Watched the screen like it might bloom into something more. Watched as the message went from delivered to read. And then, nothing. I stared at the word seen like it was mocking me. My chest tightened. Maybe I messed up. Maybe I wasn't supposed to say anything. Maybe what happened meant nothing to him. Just a moment in the dark, not something you write about later. At 2:17 a.m., just as I was turning off my phone in defeat, it buzzed. Wade, didn't think I'd hear from you. Glad you wrote. It meant a lot to me, too. I sat there for a full minute, frozen. Those words weren't long, weren't poetic, but they felt like everything. Over the next few days, something changed. Not in the world. It still spun the same way. Students still complain about midterms and bad coffee. But inside me, I noticed things again. The sharp smell of cold air in the morning. The way a dog barked in the distance and echoed across the quad. The silence of Wade's cabin kept replaying in my head like a song only I could hear. Then, 2 nights later, my phone lit up again. Wade, got a new snow blind set up. Thought of you. Figured you'd complain about the cold. I laughed out loud. I could hear his voice in the text. I typed back. You forget, I'm from the suburbs. My idea of winter gear is a Starbucks cup and sarcasm. He sent a photo in reply. The view from blind. Snow stretching to the tree line, soft and endless. The kind of quiet that wraps around you like a blanket. And I ate. Not because of what happened, but because I wanted it again. I wanted him. We didn't text every day, but when we did, it mattered. Sometimes he'd ask about classes. Sometimes I'd ask if the snow was still falling. But most of the time, it was nothing, jokes, memories, small things that lived between the lines. And yet, every message felt like it carried more than what it said. Once late one night, I told him I couldn't stop thinking about the fire, about the way it flickered on the walls, about what it felt like to sit there beside him, not touching but close. He didn't reply for hours. Then he sent 3 words. Wait, I haven't stopped. I read it over and over, like it was a secret meant just for me. A week later, walking back from the library, I just saw 2 guys holding hands. They weren't being loud, or making a show of it. Just walking, laughing, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I froze, because I wanted that. Not just the hand-holding, but the ease. The way they looked at each other like they didn't need to hide. And it made me think of Wade. The way he'd touch my hand under the snow, just briefly. The way he'd stared into the fire like he was afraid to say the wrong thing. The way he looked at me that morning, quiet, full of something he didn't have words for. That night, I sent him a message. What would you say if I came up again? I didn't expect an answer right away. I just stared at the screen, heart pounding. Then came a reply. Wait, when? I bit my lip, fingers hovering. This weekend, I typed. If that's okay. The pause that followed felt like a lifetime. Then, wait, is more than okay. I didn't even realize I was smiling until I caught my reflection in the window. My cheeks flushed. My heart raced. And suddenly, the week couldn't end fast enough. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. Not my parents. Not my friends. Not Ryan. Though I could feel he was starting to guess things I hadn't said out loud. I just packed the same flannel I wore last time, a few more layers, and left before sunrise on Saturday. The drive felt shorter. Maybe because I wasn't nervous this time. Or maybe because I was, but in a different way. Not afraid of him. Just afraid of what I'd feel the second I saw him again. And I wasn't wrong. While I pulled up the snowy road to the cabin, he was already outside, leaning against the porch railing, coffee mug in hand. His breath fogged the air, hair slightly messy from the wind. His jacket hung open, like he hadn't decided whether he was coming or going. He didn't smile, but he didn't look away either. I stepped out, closing the door behind me. I was starting to think you'd change your mind, he said. I almost did, I replied honestly. But I didn't. He nodded, slow, thoughtful, like that was enough. Inside, the cabin looked exactly the same. The fire was going. Something simmered on the stove. The same wooden mugs on the shelf. Like time had folded it on itself and held the space just for us. We didn't hug. We didn't have to. That night, we sat on the couch, closer than before. The whiskey tasted the same. The fire cracked the same. But there was more space in the silence now. Less fear. More knowing. I turned to him, glass resting on my knee. Do you ever think about it? I asked. He didn't ask what I meant. He just stared in the fire for a long time before saying, every damn day. My chest tightened. Not from nerves. From truth. He wasn't someone who said things lightly. Which is why, when I stood up and walked toward him, close enough to hear his breath catch, I didn't doubt what I was doing. You sure? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. I nodded. And then the space between us disappeared. I won't write down what happened next. Not because I'm ashamed, but because some things aren't meant to be described. Only felt. All I'll say is, it was real, and it was ours. The next morning, I woke up with sunlight spilling through the frost-laced windows. His arm was across my chest, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was pretending. I just felt home. The weekend passed like a dream I didn't want to wake from. We didn't label anything, didn't talk about what we were, but in the small spaces between our words, and the even smaller ones between our touches, something lived. Something warm, heavy, real. Wade wasn't a talker, never had been, but he showed things in other ways. The way he made coffee just the way I liked it, strong, splash of milk, no sugar. The way he left out an extra pair of gloves for me before we went outside. The way he didn't let me walk behind him on the trail, always beside him. That second morning, after we finished breakfast in comfortable silence, he glanced at me and said, no rifles today. I raised an eyebrow. No hunting. He shook his head. Just walking. The woods were quieter than I remembered. Or maybe I just never really listened before. The crunch of frost under our boots, the soft whine of distant wine through the trees. It was a kind of silence that didn't feel empty. It felt honest. We walked slowly, not because we had to, but because we could. Every few minutes, our shoulders would brush. Once, I felt his gloved hand graze mine, linger for a second too long, then fall away. I almost reached back for it, unnoticed, but neither of us spoke, and that, somehow, made it feel even more intimate. That night, we sat by the fire again. He was quieter than usual. I didn't press, just leaned against his shoulder, the warmth of his body grounding me more than words ever could. At one point, he shifted, gently nudging me upright. "You cold?" he asked. I shook my head. "No." He reached behind the couch and pulled out a thick wool blanket, then draped it over both of us. His arms settled around my shoulders, heavy and safe. I turned my head slightly, just enough for my temple to rest against his jaw, and he let me stay there. Neither of us moved for a long time. But Sunday came too fast. I hated packing. Not because I had a lot of stuff, just jeans, socks, the flannel shirt I refused to wash because it still smelled like wood smoke, but because every folded sleeve felt like a countdown. Wade stood by the window, watching the snow fall. He hadn't said much since breakfast. Neither had I. But the silence wasn't awkward. It was full, heavy with everything we weren't saying. "I hate going back," I said finally, zipping my bag. He didn't turn. "Then don't." I laughed once, a little bitter. "Yeah, let me just email my professors and tell them I've traded my laptop for firewood." His smirk appeared, faint and fleeting. "But I could teach you more." That line stuck in the air between us. Not a joke. Not quite. "I don't know what this is," I said, my voice softer now. "What we're doing." This time he turned, walked toward me slowly. When he reached me, he didn't touch me. Not at first. He just looked at me, the way he always did, like he was searching for something under the surface. "It's whatever you want it to be," he said. "I'm not going to push you." God, that hurt more than it should have. Because part of me wanted him to push. To say stay. To say this means something. But maybe that wasn't fair. Maybe I didn't even know what I wanted yet. I nodded slowly. "I wish it were easier." Wade stepped closer. This time he did take my hand just briefly. His thumb grazed my knuckles. "It is," he said. "When you're here." He helped me load the car. Said nothing when I paused before closing the trunk. The snow was falling harder now, blanketing the windshield. We stood there for a moment too long. I wanted him to say something. Anything. He opened his mouth. Closed it. I did the same. And then I got in the car. I didn't look back. Not because I didn't want to, but because I knew if I did, I wouldn't be able to leave. Back on campus, everything felt fake again. Plastic smiles. Bright lights. Deadlines. I moved through it all like a ghost. When my roommate asked where I'd been, I lied. Said I went home. Said it was fine, but nothing about me felt fine anymore. Because for 2 days, I'd been real. And now, I was back to pretending. I thought I could handle it. Coming back to school. Sliding back into my old routine like nothing had happened. Pretending the cabin, the fire, Wade, us, had just been a soft dream I could fold away and forget. But I couldn't. Not even close. The silence was the worst part. Not the kind around me. The empty dorm at night or the lecture hall hung. It was the silence on my phone. The fact that I hadn't heard from him. That he hadn't said anything since I left. And I hadn't either. Because I didn't know what to say. What are the rules when you fall for someone you're not supposed to love? I'd stare at my phone for hours. Scroll up through our messages. Reread the ones that meant the most. I haven't stopped. It's more than okay. When you're here, it is. Every word clung to me like a promise. The promises need breath. And I hadn't heard his voice in days. Ryan noticed before I was ready to admit anything. He always did. He had this way of showing up when I least wanted company, or maybe when I needed it the most. It was Thursday, gray and biting cold. I was in the library, half reading a textbook I'd already forgotten when he dropped in his seat across from me. "You've been weird lately," he said. No fiddle. No warning. Just Ryan. I blinked. Face man. Super helpful. He narrowed his eyes. "You disappear for weekends. Don't answer texts. You're zoning out like you're starring in your own moody indie film. I'm used to it, elite." He leaned forward. His voice softened. "Is it a guy?" The words hit me like cold water. I looked down at the book, at the way my thumb curled tightly over the page. I'm not judging, he added quickly. You don't have to say anything. I know the look. I'm a friend go through this. You're not as invisible as you think. I swallowed. It's complicated, I said quietly. He nodded, like that was enough. Aren't they all? That night, I sat in bed with the lights off, headphones in, music low. I opened my phone again. Wade's name stared back at me. I typed, hey, just thinking about you. Hope you're okay. Then deleted it. Typed again. I missed the cabin. I miss you. This time I sent it. I watched the message shift to delivered. Then, read, and that was it. No reply. I threw the phone across my bed and lay back, staring at the ceiling. What was I expecting? For him to drop everything and drive to me again? For him to say he missed me too, but he couldn't sleep, that he kept the fire burning just in case I came back? Maybe I was a fool. But a part of me, the part that still felt the ghost of his touch, wasn't ready to let go. 3 weeks passed. 3 long, empty weeks. No word. No text. Just me, walking through my days like a boy who'd been kissed by fire and left to freeze. And then, Friday afternoon, a number I didn't recognize lit up my screen. Northern area code. My heart slammed into my throat. I answered. Ethan, his voice. Ragged. Wait, you busy? He asked, breath shaky like he'd been running or drinking. Maybe both. Alright, I'm heading back to my dorm. What's going on? The pause. Static. I need to see you. I froze. What happened? Another pause. Longer. I'm driving down, he said. Be there in 6 hours. Click. The call ended. Just like that. I stood there in the middle of campus, phone still pressed to my ear, heartbeat in my throat. He was coming here. To me. And I had no idea what that meant. I cleaned my room like I was expecting a visit from God. Not because it was messy, it wasn't, but because it felt like the only thing I could control. I made my bed twice. Straightened books that no one would notice. Wiped the mirror like I'd be seeing someone I didn't recognize. Maybe I would. Wade was on his way, and I didn't know which version of him would walk through that door. The man from the firelight or the silence that followed. Hours dragged. Every buzz on my phone made my pulse jump. Every creak in the hallway pulled my gaze to the door. I couldn't sit still. Couldn't think. At 9:42 p.m., it finally came. Wade, I'm outside. I didn't even grab my tote. The second I stepped out, I saw him. He stood beside his truck under the yellow glow of the street lamp, snowflakes clinging to his jacket, his hair damp at the edges. He looked older, tired, but not distant. His arms were crossed like he was holding himself together. I stopped a few feet away. Wait, what's going on? He didn't answer right away. Just stared at me like he was afraid I might vanish. I try to forget, he said finally. His voice cracked. Try to bury it. Stay busy. Chop wood. Fix fences. Tell myself it was just a moment, something I could put away. He took a step closer, but I couldn't. I swallowed hard. What changed? He exhaled sharp. Yesterday, I almost told someone. A guy I work with. It just slipped. Unnoticed. And that scared the hell out of me. He laughed, dry, bitter. I've never done that in my life. Then his voice dropped. I think I'm tired of being alone. That broke something in me. Because I was tired too. So without thinking, I stepped forward. We were inches apart now. Snow melted on his collar. I could see the flush in his cheeks. The way his jaw clenched like he was holding back something heavy. So what now? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Wade reached into his jacket, pulled something out, and placed it in my hand. A small, cold object. A tea. I stared at it. What is this? His eyes didn't leave mine. To the cabin, he said. It's yours too, if you want it. The weight of it in my palm was nothing, but it felt like everything. And just as I was about to speak, to say yes, to ask what this meant, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. Buzzed again. The text. I pulled it out. Nah, Ethan, I don't know how to tell you this, but Wade's been in an accident. They found his truck near the county road. They're trying to reach him. Have you heard anything? The key slipped from my hand and hit the pavement. I looked up. He was still there, still breathing, still Wade. But I already knew what this meant. This wasn't real. He never made it. I didn't speak. I couldn't. The cold didn't matter. The snow didn't matter. My breath caught somewhere between disbelief and the thudding ache behind my ribs. I stared at him, Wade, standing right there in front of me, looking real, solid. But my phone didn't lie. My mom didn't lie. They found his truck, wrecked, empty. Looking at him was like staring at a photograph that had come to life. My body wanted to move toward him, to grab his jacket, to touch his face, just to feel if it was real skin or memory. But I didn't move, because some part of me already knew. Ethan, he said, his voice softer now, a voice I'd know anywhere. What's wrong? I didn't answer, just held up my phone so he could read the message. He stepped closer, squinting at the screen. Then he stopped. His eyes flicked back up to mine. He understood. We both did. What is this? I whispered, my voice cracking. Are you dead? He smiled, but not with joy, with something deeper, sadder. No, he said. I'm not gone. Then what is this? He stepped toward me, slow, like he was afraid I'd run. This is what's left. The snow kept falling. Quiet. Endless. My breath fogged in the space between us. You didn't make it, I said. Not a question. He shook his head. I swerved to avoid a deer. That's the last thing I remember. Then I woke up on your street, watching you open the door. He looked down at his hands, turning them slowly. I didn't think I'd get to say goodbye. I fell to my knees, not for drama, but because my body couldn't hold it anymore. All the fear, all the waiting, all the hope that he might choose me, stay with me, build something together, it all cracked at once. He crouched beside me, his hand hovering near mine. I came back, he said, not to haunt you, to hold you. One last time. I looked up, tears hot despite the cold. Why now? Because you still needed to hear it, he said. And so did I. He stood, and I stood with him. The street light flickered above us. The snow turned silver in the glow. I don't want you to go, I whispered. I don't either, he said. But I think I already did. He stepped back. Just once. I followed instinctively. But he raised a hand. And then he said the words that will never leave me. You still have the key. He began to fade. Not like a ghost, not like smoke, but like sunlight leaving the floorboards at the end of day. Not gone, just somewhere else. My hand was empty now, but my chest was full. In the weeks after, I didn't tell anyone. Not Ryan, not my mom, not even myself on the days I tried to pretend it hadn't happened. But when the grief grew too heavy, when the air on campus felt too loud and artificial, I take out the real brass key from my drawer and hold it. Feel its shape, its weight, and sometimes, on nights when the snow returned, when the wind sounded almost like his voice, I closed my eyes, and I'd see the cabin, still there, still waiting. And in that place inside me, the place he built, the place only we knew, he still existed. Not just a memory, not just a ghost, but a man I loved, and still do,